The British drama series Downton Abbey depicts an aristocratic Yorkshire family and their domestic servants in the post-Edwardian era. Those of you who watched the show may recall when Mrs. Crawley, attempting to visit her friend Lord Merton, is denied access by his son and daughter-in-law. They cite illness and age to prevent Lord Merton from receiving visitors and correspondence. And by locking him in his room, they have access and control of his estate and his finances. Elder abuse is not a new issue. With social media and the involvement of community and government services, awareness and reporting of elder abuse has increased, but it's still underreported. Welcome to session 2 of Combating Elder Abuse and Building Resilience. My name is Jane Barnett, and today we'll focus on prevention, including ways to recognize, address, and prevent elder abuse and mistreatment. What you can do if you are experiencing abuse or are concerned for someone else's welfare. In session 1, we looked at the definition of elder abuse. This was the shorter version of the definition that we focused on. Actions or inactions that jeopardize the health and well-being of a senior. We also looked at the various forms that elder abuse can take. And we looked at, if you recall in session 1, a number of examples of what you might see or hear that would be examples of each of these. Seniors 80 and up represent the fastest growing segment of the Canadian population. In fact, by 2030, 1 in 4 Canadians will be seniors. In Ontario alone, 1.2 million adults live, reside, play, learn, work, volunteer. What percentage of those seniors do you think have reported elder abuse? Point to the percentage on your screen that you think fits. So if you chose the first range from 7 to 10%, you're absolutely right. But keep in mind, this range only represents the actual reported incidents of mistreatment and abuse. Unfortunately, the number is actually higher. Older adults also experience ageism. Let me give you an example of what I mean. During Elizabeth Wettlaufer's court trial, the coroner, Dr. William George, said no death in a nursing home is unexpected, as if that was an excuse not to look into the unusual circumstances of 8 deaths in long-term care facilities. He was exhibiting ageism, a form of discrimination towards seniors. Concerns about the suspicious deaths in the long-term care facilities where Nurse Wettlaufer worked were overlooked despite numerous families members expressing concern and Wettlaufer herself telling more than 10 people, including family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, and her pastor about her intentions. Ageism occurs when seniors are treated as less, meaning less valued, less visible, and relegated to second-class status, where their needs and their lives are treated as less important. 18% of Simcoe County's population is actually 65 years of age or older. If this describes you and you're healthy and a non-smoker, you're likely to live to about the age of 85 if you're a man and 87 if you're a woman. Because women tend to live longer, they are at greater risk for abuse because they often have to rely on others to be able to continue living independently in their homes. The goal when addressing abuse and ageism is to protect the rights of elders and to increase knowledge and education for seniors and their care providers. There are 3 steps that you can take when you are addressing what appears to be senior abuse. See it, name it, check it. Let's look more closely at each step. See it is when you recognize the warning signs that we talked about in session 1. Some of those particular things that might be red flags for you. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't sound right, look right, or you sense something doesn't quite fit, and you are finding yourself actually saying, you know, that's not right. This is step 1. Name it. This looks or sounds like abuse. Talk to the older person. Express concern and care for them, and let them know they're not alone. Be willing to contact abuse expertise on the safety hotline or online for them, and share your concerns. Describe just the facts of what you've seen and what you've heard. Check it. Is it actually abuse? So again, you can go back to the definitions I introduced in session 1 and determine whether or not it fits within those definitions. If it is abuse, what can you do to help? Ask questions. Don't assume that you know what's happening, and contact the Senior Safety Health Line, which I've noted here, about what to do next, or if you think the situation is imminently dangerous, contact 911. So let's walk through an example of see it, name it, check it. You see your friend Jack, and you're thinking, you know, I'm worried about my friend. He hasn't been to Askennonia for several weeks, and the last time I saw him, he was really anxious and withdrawn. And he seemed preoccupied. That's really out of character for him. Name it. So now you're going to talk with Jack. Jack, I haven't seen you at Askennonia for a while, and I know how much you enjoy participating in a jamboree. You seem upset, and I'm worried about you. And then finally, check it. Are you okay, Jack? Is there something or someone that's making you feel uncomfortable? How can I help? Is there anything that I can do? You can support an older person at risk by asking these and other questions and showing your concern. Imagine your friend is showing signs of mistreatment. They're withdrawn, they're nervous, and they no longer participate in events or Zoom calls. What can you do? Well, it's important by starting with questioning. I've listed some questions here. These are also reflected on your informatic, but here's some other ways you can start these conversations. I heard some pretty loud noises at your house the other day. Is everything okay at home? Or you could try something like this. Those look like bad bruises on your wrists. And then you just stop and wait for the senior to expand upon them. Is there anything you'd like me to do, or is there anyone you'd like me to call? So this is letting them know if they're not comfortable with you stepping in, that you're willing to make a phone call for them. I know I offered you a ride to the doctor the other day, but is there anything else I can do for you? All of these questions just open the door to enable a senior to start to have a conversation with someone who is expressing concern for them. And it might be the first time they're talking about this. And that's why listening at this stage is so important. It may be really difficult for the senior to talk about what's going on. And if you're seeing warning signs, that's a pretty good indication that a lot more is going on below the surface. It can be really difficult for seniors who may not be able to leave the situation, and given COVID restrictions or reliance on the person who is mistreating them because they don't want to leave their home, these can all be factors around why the abuse is continuing. When a senior tells you about their experience, believe them and acknowledge what a difficult situation they're in and that they're not alone, that you're there to support them in whatever way they want. Remind them it's not their fault and that you're happy to help them if they're interested in you reaching out. Encourage them to talk to someone who can help. For example, contacting the senior safety hotline or going on an online chat, or someone who has experience with abuse can guide them through process and decision making. Even having them talk to their doctor or lawyer so that they can know what next steps are available. Respect their confidentiality and avoid judging. Although you're going to want to change this situation very quickly, it's really a challenging situation. It often takes time, and it's really up to the senior to make that decision. It's important that they get next steps that they're comfortable with, and then you can ask them what they want to do, but respect their decisions. Only they can make a decision about what to do next, even if you don't agree with where they're going with that. If you're concerned that an individual is unable to make informed choices for themselves, consult with a senior services provider to determine how you can help or what might be available for them. Document any abuse you see or you hear, and that's just the facts that you want to capture, but avoid confronting or accusing the individual whom you think is carrying out the abuse or mistreatment. Now, what if somebody doesn't want your help once you've asked those questions or you've extended an offer to provide additional information? Let them know you're there for them. Keep the lines of communication open. If they're a friend or a neighbor who lives close by, you can actually come up with a code word or an action that will help you know if they need help. For example, telling them to pull the blind in the bathroom window or setting a plant in the kitchen window, using a code name or word when you're chatting with them outside if in the presence of the person who is mistreating them. All of these can let you know that they're in distress or they need additional assistance, and then you can contact 911, or you can reach out to someone whom they've advised you they want you to contact. Provide them with information about how they can learn more and who they can contact on their own. Be compassionate. It's hard to understand why someone would want to stay in a situation like this, but you can't make decisions for them. And again, if you feel that it's a dangerous situation for the senior, call 911. How can you protect yourself and prevent abuse? Well, it's really important to plan ahead and make your wishes known, both verbally and in writing, to your family and your lawyer. And Tracy Reinard will tell you more about this in her session 3. Stay active and involved in your community, Askennonia Senior Center, and your friend circle. All those groups that can keep an eye on you, make sure you're safe, and just check in with you on a regular basis. Don't sign over property or money in return for care. Monitor your financial statements and your accounts on your own. Be an advocate for yourself. And we'll talk more about this in session 5. During today's session, we've looked at ways to recognize, address, and prevent elder abuse. We've talked about the questions we can ask and ways we can protect ourselves and help others in response to an abusive situation. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.